Welcome to Pretty Good Cooking. Tonight on the show I'm going to show you a technique, a food thing that is so simple you probably will come to the end of this video being like, well, why did I watch that? But I just wanted to show you partly as a contrived way to work in a product that has been sent to us to feature, but also the tomatoes featured in this are from my garden, and I wanted to show you what I've been doing with them. So this is going to be how to make dehydrated tomatoes, quote-unquote sun-dried tomatoes, but some of these tomatoes like never saw the sun. Here's a picture of them packed in oil. Today we are featuring yet another knife. And if you know anything about the history of the show, knife reviews have been a little bit dangerous. Had to take my brother to the hospital after the last one. So as such, this video is not dedicated to this knife, it's just featuring it. And I will not try to clean the edge with a paper towel. Here we have the Michelangelo Damascus chef knife, which I believe, if you look at it, that wavy design is made to look like Damascus steel. It looks cool, and I would say that is its primary feature. Straight out of the box, it looks cool. People will be like, where'd you get that knife? And you'll say, saw it on the internet, and I got a 20% discount by using the promo code supplied in the bottom of this video description. Assuming the company sends me one, they haven't yet. But they did mention they could do that, so maybe you could get a discount. They're from Germany, I believe, but everyone who I corresponded with was from Japan. The knife itself feels actually pretty good. You know, my standard knife comparison is always my Wusthof Grand Prix 2. And in terms of weightiness, it's a little bit lighter, but similar in size. The big kicker for me is I much prefer this heavy-duty plastic feel. It's just what I'm used to. And this is more of a, it's almost like faux wood. That actually even could be, perhaps, wood that has been lacquered or something. This part of the knife, which you would consider to be kind of like a finger guard, you can see this knife, it just has a big chunk of metal there. And this one, it does not. It's actually very thin there. So that's all different styles of knives, I think. With proper technique, not coming from me as a source of anything that is actually proper or considered technique, you're actually supposed to grasp the knife above the handle a bit for, you know, better control. And this knife has just a really nice piece of metal to grab on, versus this one, it's actually kind of difficult to hold there, and this piece where my finger might rest, it's a little bit uncomfortable. And actually I think that's part of why it feels lighter, because it doesn't have all that metal there. In terms of balance too, it's weighted heavily towards the handle, whereas this one has a nice kind of like center of gravity in the middle of the knife. These are just preferences. But like I said, it looks cool. Looks, that's really what we're going for here. Might want to give it a little rinse. Manufacturing chemicals off there. So enough about the knife. It looks cool. You can buy it if you want. I'm going to give it some chops and tests, and we'll see where we go. In general, like of knives that have been sent, this feels pretty good in my hand. I like it. I think it was like 40 bucks or something. Okay, so enough of that bullshit. Here we have some tomatoes. These are all German lunchbox tomatoes from my garden. And first off, I want to point out the difference between this bowl and this strainer. These tomatoes were vine ripened. Look how nice and red they look. Very robust. These tomatoes are actually very ripe, but they don't have that same nice look. These are box ripened tomatoes. Now you may be wondering why on earth why'd you do that? Our tomato plants produced so many tomatoes that they were starting to collapse. So we actually had to go through, prune a bunch of vines, and we picked so many tomatoes that were unripe. And the best way, well, not the best way, but one of the ways you can ripen is put them in a box with a banana, or just on their own with some other ripe tomatoes, and the ethylene gas, or I think it's ethylene, it builds up and they'll ripen in there, but they don't ripen in the same fashion. So even though that's, again, fully ripe, nice and soft, just look at that comparison. That's the same kind of tomato. But I figured, hey, I gotta chop a bunch of stuff, and why not use it with this new knife? There's few pleasures quite like using a new knife the very first time. It's never the same as the first time. We'll give these a rinse, and since we are dehydrating these, I'm not worried about drying them further. So we will start, I'm just gonna start chopping things. I have my dehydrating trays. My dehydrator is actually broken. You can see the lid is all busted, and I don't know how that happened, but it still works. I did a test run a few weeks ago, and works just fine. Alright, so give it a first cut. It feels pretty good. That doesn't look that ripe. So I'm interested to see how these dehydrate. So let's do a side-by-side comparison of a very ripe one. It's one of these guys. So soft, kind of unripe, and well, it doesn't look that different really. It's just much lighter. It tastes the same. The vine ripened one is just softer. I really don't think that's going to matter at all when we dehydrate the hell out of them. One thing that's fun to do is see how thinly you can slice a tomato with a new knife. So very, very, very thin. Interesting. Now for dehydrating tomatoes, I think my dehydrator book said it takes like 7 or 8 hours. Cameraman's not gonna be here 7 or 8 hours. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw these on the dehydrator. I typically run my dehydrator in the basement because it's loud enough to be annoying. Just like a fan running. There's racks, right? And these racks stack up on a base unit. That base unit is essentially a fan with a little bit of a heating element, and all the dehydrator does is it circulates warm air through these racks that stack up, that sit upon it. So the warm air draws out the moisture, and as it goes, food dries out. So I'm gonna keep chopping these, and I'll show you what the end racks look like. I would say that this knife is pretty nice. We will try to continue to use it for some time. Maybe it'll appear on another episode, but no guarantees of that. Really, like in terms of you know, just like a pretty inexpensive knife, feels nice. I probably will hang on to this one. You know, I'll give it my stamp of okayness, at least in the short term. Short term okayness. Out of the box, it works. It feels pretty okay. We'll be back when I'm done chopping tomatoes. Alright, so we're here in my basement. There's full of junk down here, but this is my dehydrator spot. Once it's stacked up nicely, all we gotta do is plug it in, I think. Sounds like a spaceship, and we just let it go. So I'll be checking on this many hours from now. One thing to know is that this will fill the house with the aroma of tomatoes. And the last time I did this, I did tomatoes and hot peppers at the same time, and it smelled like death. Like truly like I was filling the house with poison. I've never done that before. We'll head back upstairs here and I'll show you what the end product looks like. So here we are back up in the main kitchen workspace, and these are the dried tomatoes I made some time ago and packed in oil. And I actually have not tried the oiled ones. The other ones I just put in like a bag. You know, vacuum sealing probably would be the way to go if you got one of those. Smells good. And there you can see, you know, fully dehydrated, very oily as it's been packed in oil. So give it a chop, and you can see, you know, inside has the seeds. So this should look very familiar if you ever had oil-packed, you know, sun-dried tomatoes. It tastes really good. It goes really well with that olive oil. And you can use the oil itself for cooking as well. You might, like, you know, dress a salad in it, make salad dressing, or toss it with some pasta. But that's how you do it. It's end of the season. I'll probably be doing this with other stuff too, like hot peppers. I'll show you. I made my own crushed chili flake. These are all garden peppers. I'm gonna put that on a pizza. I like pizza. Okay, well, I think that's all I gotta say about that. The knife seemed nice. The tomatoes probably come out. Maybe I'll take some pictures, or you know, if they catch on fire, I'll call John back over and he can help me put out the fire and take some pictures of that. So that's how you do it. And toodaloo.